Hello everybody, welcome back to World of Madness here with Dungeon Maker, and we've had a few changes since the last video. So, our dudes over here are slowly but surely leveling up, and it's very hot outside, so the window's open, so there may be some noise on this, we'll see. They're slowly leveling up. We've now got access to Quick Charge 1 and free, because that's literally your first option. You guys are talking, apparently. But steadily but surely, this guy is leveling up. These guys are significantly harder to level up than the farmers, which we'll see in a moment. But nonetheless, we're making our way. Nine emeralds for a bookshelf. Oh, it's just not worth it. But I need your support here. I'm literally an island, so yeah. So they're there, and they're getting some work done, and made a few additions, and a little bit of a nice decorative topping to our wiring here for the sorter, so we can now dump stuff directly into lava by putting it inside of this trapped chest. And we can put things into the sorting system using this trapped chest. Trapped chests so that they don't export whilst you're looking in, so if you accidentally put the wrong thing in and you don't close it just yet, you still have an opportunity to actually get it back out. And that's meaning that we can do this a lot better. But I realized there's actually a flaw with this sorter, because literally like 10 minutes after I stopped recording, I realized that all of the sorting had pretty much died. And the reason for that is that these are right next to each other. Now, this system is designed to be tileable, and it works under normal conditions. But if you back up and you get like a stack or so of items inside of here, what happens next is that the power level is more than 2, which means it interferes with the next line, or the lines on either side, whichever one does it first, I guess. And as long as this wire here is powered on any of these, the redstone torch turns off and the hopper is allowed to flow, meaning it eventually clears the filter. So we actually need to do some reworking here, and I've done some testing around in creative mode to try and figure out how to actually fix that, and I came up with a really cute piston-based system, but it requires sticky pistons, and we have like 1 slime ball remaining, so we can't really use a sticky piston. More or less that's the only one we've got, so we just have to deal with that. And consequently, that means that's something to put on the back burner until I go back over to Deboyahar, which is right next to a swamp anyways. Did manage to get at least a few trips over to there, just sort of like to deal with a few more migrants and whatnot. And, oh hey, we got power 2. I'll disenchant that and see if it comes in use later. And meanwhile, the rest of that can just go in there. Yeah. So, that's something that we figured out. We are going to be working on the spawner today. Let's just quickly see if we can't. Nah. No luck. Oh well. That's fine. We'll just chuck that into there. Perfect. Yeah. So, over here, we now have what is quite obviously a pumpkin farm. Because our farmers over here, we have 2 of them. I'm not quite sure where the other one's gone to, but they'll be wandering around. These two have acclimated quite well. Those 2 are still very much in quarantine, as it were. But they will trade pumpkins for emeralds. They'll also trade wheat and potatoes and other stuff. But pumpkins are very, very distinct among the crops, because these, you just need a regular piston, and then you can farm these. You don't actually need to, like, craft them into anything. You don't need to separate them out from the products. It's just a piston pushes into them, they pop off, you catch them in a hopper, and you can automate these really, 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 really easily. And that means that we functionally have an emerald farm as long as we have a means of gathering these pumpkins fast enough. Now, obviously, this is not that cheap, but it's not going to take us very much. And I believe you got some, you've been trading some mischief, so we have even cheaper here. So 5 pumpkins for an emerald. That's essentially our metric. We could also theoretically start with the golden carrots, and we do have access now to these suspicious stews. You guys have exactly the same trades, so I don't actually know if those are the same suspicious stews. I don't know if this is like a brother's enterprise, But, yeah. So, if we can set up an automated system for farming, ideally also, like, sugarcane, but also these pumpkins, we can get however many emeralds that we like. And consequently, through this farm, I have managed to get a couple more mending books. So, Toes now has it, as does Dig. Generally speaking, you don't really want to put mending on a shovel, not because it's bad exactly, but more because there's a lot of other things that have significantly greater priority with that. But with the project that we've got ahead of us here, I figured probably good to make sure my diamond shovel with efficiency on it doesn't go away. So, yeah, I put it on the shovel. It's a weird world we live in, I guess. But progress has been going with that. And yep, we're slowly making it over to where the portal is over there. It's a little bit more, and we should have that done. But oh yes, that reminds me. There is an additional flaw that I realized with the overflow system, which is that even if that filter never break, even if those those filter circuits were perfect, and we can make them perfect, but not right now. What that would do is that any, like, let's say, arrows that overflow through here would go along and end up here. So any overflow right now would just end up inside of this non-stackable chest. And that's not good, because it would then mean we get none of the non-stackables. They would just flow directly into here. So we actually do need to sort out a little bit more down here so that these have individual hooks that mean that when they detect that there's too much in them, probably long before they actually start to overflow their filter, they actually start to drip out and into the the destruction line, the overflow line, which is why originally I put in those extra hoppers. Not just so that we don't have to, like, hear the dropper quite as loudly, though it's evidently still very much audible from up here, but also so we can fit other stuff into that and just have the one overflow line. I'm getting very technical here, so I apologize if I'm losing people. But, yeah, so that's the situation that we're dealing with. I don't know why I'm even bothering to hit you guys, because eventually you'll just, like, wreck yourselves, and I don't really need to worry at all. But, you know, I guess common courtesy. You see a bunch of people in a... You see a bunch of fish in a barrel, you start shooting. But yeah, so our first job for today is to actually remodel this so A, it's not quite as hideous, and B, it reduces the mobs to 1 or, I'd like ideally 1, but let's say 1 or 2 hit points, so that they're much, much cheaper for us to kill, and our sword doesn't lose much more in the way of durability. Huh, so let's get to that time lapse, shall we? that's looking so much nicer on the eyes. So I've got a whole bunch of little detail around here. I've put a whole bunch of bric-a-brac, as it were, up here, which sort of has the nice little implication that the bottom of this is sort of bowing out a little bit, but it also limits where all of the water droplets can be, which then makes them a little bit less, like, massively overwhelming, and allows me to add this little bit of touches of mossy cobble down here, as well as some cobble stuff as well. I might add a bit more to this down here, just to make it, like, a little less full of cobblestone and as such. And we've covered up the hopper line going all across here with some books, just sort of like stacked around. Sort of like this is a relatively messy but still kind of functional area. And we're using the new lanterns, which fortunately one of my, what do you call it, librarians? Yeah, I think they're librarians, whatever. Scholars. Not clerics. Clerics is a different thing. But yeah, they sell that, and consequently, I can get it for really cheap. So we just hung those around. They make the place look really nice. I like it. And then there is the functional side of things. So instead of just dropping straight down into our kill zone, as it were, the mobs now fall down here. Come on, there you go, into a little drop that then moves them along quite easily into this, which is a water elevator, because soul sand, when placed under solid water blocks, source water blocks, creates a plume that goes upwards, sort of in the opposite form to how magma blocks now drag you down if you're in the middle of the sea, because they turn up quite frequently there. And then, quite up here, about 22 blocks up, they are pushed across into there, which goes directly into our kill spot, causing them to take very near lethal damage. Now, you still do need a weapon, because even at 1 health, zombies in particular actually have an armor value innate, so they don't actually die to 1 hit. You do actually need to use a weapon, but now we need to use 1 swing of our weapon to take all of them out, which is pretty sweet. And I would like to do a little bit more detailing around here. I think using different kinds of wood to give the impression of different levels of, like, saturation of water and all sorts of other things here would be good. This place looks hecking gorgeous on moody lighting, but can't really use moody lighting because YouTube compression makes it look really, really dark. So, sad face there. But we've got access to the top there, we've got access to the roof, to the actual spawning area in here as well, if we ever have a need to access this. And we even have access to the redstone down here. So yay for that, just in case I ever need to come down here to fix some stuff up, even though it's no longer visible from the surface. So that is the next part fixed up. I think if we can fix the floor in the overflow on the main line, then we don't actually need to fix up the sorter, because it won't ever be relevant to do so. So that's our next job. And oh yes, I put Silk Touch onto my shovel here, just so I can get like a whole freaking ton of mycelium now, I guess. If I don't know what plans I have for using mycelium, but it's there nonetheless. But okay, so if we go down here, we can find our way around to these chests, and then I have what should be, emphasis on should, what should be all of the resources and more, actually, that we need in order to hook this up so that the chests here will never overflow. Should be. Should be. We'll see exactly how well that goes once I clear out some space under here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we are right under the surface layer here. If we move this around, we should find, yep, there's mycelium there, which means that is the surface. And we're only really interested in tapping these 3 for overflow. This one we don't worry about as much, particularly because we keep all of our actually good stuff at the top here. So that the top level here is where hoppers will always try to place first. So it's really only beneficial to us to try and overflow the ones that are all the same thing anyways, so yeah. Now, as with our sorter, the problems that we have here begin with the fact that we are trying to use this when... Oop, just grab that and plug that back. When all of these are right next to each other, and that is bothersome in the extreme, to say the least, because we have to have a tiler that will not interact with each other, because if one of these goes off and says, I'm full, I need to empty out, and it starts causing other ones next to it to drain out, then we're going to lose all sorts of stuff. So, we need hoppers coming down here, leading into here, which is our actual overflow, and that goes into the dropper, which can just happily handle itself after that. So, I've got a bunch of hoppers, favorite thing in the world, pretty much, and doop, 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 doop. Okay, these should be locked at present, and even if they're not, well, there's not really very much of value here, so that's kind of fine. Okay, so yep, nothing coming through here, good. That's all the hoppers that we need for the moment. And we now need to hook up a system that detects when these are full, and when they are full, we need to then send a signal down to this torch to turn it off and allow these to actually come out. So let's start by there. And this is going to be mostly achieved by just detecting... Where's my... There we are. By just detecting when this is full, because when it is full, it should equal a different signal that we sent in, namely a redstone block, which is 100 power, or, well, max power, 100% power, I should say, and with that, we can then take a signal here, and really we're going to be using a lot of comparators here just to isolate signals, so don't worry if this looks really heckin' complicated. It is, but not for that reason. So we take that, and then we just need a redstone block there, and a little bit of dust or something down here. So let's just use a comparator, because we have a bunch of them, and they're very isolated, so they're very good for this. So doop doop. We don't have too much concern as to exactly how much or how little these overflow reduce, just as long as they take it below 100%, because that will keep that'll keep the sorter fine, it'll keep the chest space fine. Okay, so when that chest is full, it'll send a pulse out to here, this will come down, turn on that, turn off this, and then start pulling out of this. This unfortunately has a ways to go before we actually get to that point, so not exactly the best of tests, but either way. Now that's it, we can do the same thing, mirrored, over here, so that we can get another one of these done. So doop, doop, to there. And then the really complicated one is the one in the middle. Now, you could, in theory, replace these comparator signals and such with a really long, like 16 blocks long redstone line, not unlike how the item filter itself works. But I do mention, and I stress, it is very long when you do that. So, it's not exactly the most ideal of solutions, because it takes up so much dang space. So that's why we are using this system instead. And here's where it gets a little bit more complicated, because now we need to get out from in here so that we can get our signal to there in a manner that does not interact with those. And yeah, we're going to be hurting a little bit for space here. Let me just grab that block back, thank you very much. And also going to need to have that comparator back there. Good. But okay. So the actual comparator we want to be dealing with is right here, because we need to be going in off of this side. So let's just... whoop. Yep, good. And plonk our redstone block there. And just as before, we're just gonna have ourselves a lovely little sticky piston. I did go over to the Deboyahar swamp to actually grab these, and did a little bit of comparison. Click is very good at taking out large numbers of slimes, which tends to happen when you start killing slimes. But Slice, with its looting 2, significantly better at getting actual bulk supplies of slime blocks from them. And let's just actually put a block above here so that we don't get interference from these redstone lines coming down here. Okay. So a couple of dots there. And that should be pretty much instantaneous. So now we just need to plonk a couple of comparators back down. And this is going to be the most annoying part because we have to worry about actually being up here. There we go. Okay. So to there, and to there. Perfect. So that one is lit up specifically because it has power and isn't being shut off by the ones to the sides, but you'll notice it isn't making it over to here, despite the fact that this one is turned on. So now whenever these actually fill up, with the exception of our unsorted one, which apparently has caught one of my stairs, they will actually eject items into the overflow. So now we shouldn't ever have to worry about this backing up to the point of overflow. So if I just do that... Oh, what good timing. So, yep. We can fix up the sorter if we like, but it's not necessary now, because now we have a system that will never back up. Yay! And our world's ugliest mob grinder now looks so nice. So nice. I love this aesthetic going on down here. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. But, yeah. So, let me know what you guys think. I do think it does need a little bit more detail, different wood types especially, but I'm liking this. This looks nice. And, that is all that I have for you today, so hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all as ever next time. Wait. Stop. Do you hear that? That creeping, crawling noise. That dripping like the sound of blood spilling from an open wound. It's the sound of my Patreon, and if you want to outrun whatever is making that noise, as well as grab some fun benefits, head over to patreon.com/lying.